You're listening to Wicked Thoughts, a podcast by Flair Castro. This show helps founders and professionals understand business trends, social media, digital lifestyle, and how to be a better entrepreneur. For season 4, we cover topics powered by a dash of social. Let's start learning in 3, 2, 1. Guys, welcome to season 4 of Wicked Thoughts. So I have here with me Christopher Starr, quite famous in the startup scene in the Philippines. And it's also my first time to talk to him on a call. So I'm pretty excited to talk to Chris Starr tonight. Hi, Chris.
Hi, kamusta?
Oh, good. Great to have you here. I'm super stoked to have someone who's quite known in the startup space. So I'm going to quickly go over your profile. So you were the chief marketing officer of Catalyst Case. That's your current position. And you're currently a content creator, podcaster for Tech in Asia. You have Podcast Network Asia, which I just listened to, your podcast Under the Influence. You're also a live streamer on Kumu there and a startup mentor for Kubo as well. So I think I've read everything already, Chris. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself? Something that I haven't covered.
Okay, something you haven't covered. I think that pretty much defines who I am right now. But in terms of my career background, I've always been in marketing since forever. I've been in the digital space for about, I think, I consider it around 17 years now since I first started having my
Wow.
own first website and selling online 17 years ago. And until now, I'm still in the digital space. I work with web, mobile applications to dating apps to e-commerce. You name it, I probably have done it to one way or another.
For sure, for sure. But um so yeah, like I said, I've been listening to a couple of podcasts where you were a guest in, and apparently that was your recent episode all about you. It was I had like you were having so much fun. I think you were just talking to friends. And I love that. Like it's like a side of Chris Starr that I haven't seen, you know. So I always see you on my news feed doing all these things for the startups. And yeah, I think the last time I saw you online was because of Up Next, of which you were the lead, diba, for the program with Javier. Ayun. And
Yeah.
then the other time that I saw you was Clubhouse. I think you were still active on Clubhouse. Are you still active on Clubhouse right now?
Unfortunately, I'm not as active as before, and that's because I actually got my job through Clubhouse. And
Wow.
yes, since I've been hired, I've been very busy lately, so I haven't been active on Clubhouse.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also dropped out of Clubhouse. So you're not missing much. Don't worry. But those were fun times, diba? I mean, we're
Yes.
talking about social media here, and I think when Clubhouse opened up, but then it was invite only. People were streaming in. A lot of business owners, especially startup people, in the scene, they wanted to find out, okay, what's in this app? How do I meet people? And people were talking about things like serendipity, So as a content creator right now, Chris, kasi that's your current parang I don't know, current activity in a way. You have a lot of things going on. How is it being a content creator since I think you mentioned last year? How was it?
Okay, I consider myself an accidental creator just because I've always been active on social media as part of my job. So that's why you'll find me on any app that is very new, like Clubhouse, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. Like the moment these platforms launch, I automatically create an account, try to play around with it. I ask and beg people to give me invites just to have access because it's my job. But the pandemic really changed everything since there's not
Mm.
much to do and I live alone. My family's not with me, so I really had to spend a lot of time online to keep myself sane. And as much as Netflix is there and all these other all these streaming sites, it's still different to have human interaction, especially for a person like me. So that's what led me to live streaming, because it feels like a party where you just barge into a
Join
conversation
in.
and then meet new people, interact. And that's really how it started. I made friends with a lot of other live streamers, both new ones and a lot of also more traditional like celebrities and social media influencers. And I just kind of developed, or probably not developed, but probably unleashed my hidden talents of like making fun of myself, creating content with them. So we've pretty much done a lot of different things, from raising money to having a talk show to doing serious talks
Grabe.
to like pitching competition. I've done something similar to like a Shark Tank on live stream, and I've also done like teleserye type of content on live
Oh
streaming.
my
I've
God.
pretty much done everything. Yeah.
Dami ng ano, you have a lot of activities done, no? I mean, it's not similar to how businesses are doing it right now, or maybe people who also want to try out these apps. Probably they're just curious, like what you said. Okay, there's a new app that came out, and I want to try it out. But you actually create content on these apps, so that's a different level, diba? So sabi nga nila, you have people who are like uh, they sign up and then they drop off, and then there are those who sign up, they stay, they're just stalking, no, parang ano lang, parang okay, they just open it like once a day. So how heavily influenced were you? Who was your inspiration in creating content ba? Like what inspired you na maging content creator din, podcaster, a live streamer, an education creator on TikTok as well? Wow.
It was
Was
really
was there someone who inspired you? Mm.
I would say my friends that I also met online. Some of
Mm-mm.
them I met before the pandemic. Some of them are my friends in startup world, and then we kind
Mm.
of just drive in online. But I also met a lot of new people online,
Mm.
and because we have nothing to do, a lot of them are uprising TikTok um, influencers. So the interest was kind of the same. I was more interested to learn it from a business perspective. So I was just,
Exactly.
but I'm like, okay, how do you do this, diba? Paano ba maging influencer? Like, what do you do and stuff like that? Like, do they actually take it seriously in terms of numbers? And
Mm.
I'm super surprised. They do. They check their analytics. They know these things. They watch a
What?
lot of YouTube to study the algorithm.
Uh,
They're really taking it seriously, and I'm so surprised how the industry also has developed, because I've worked with a lot of influencers before. Some of my friends are social media influencers, one of the OGs. Um, and yet I did not know the world clearly, because it was starting, it was mostly bloggers, people are
right. Yeah, yeah.
blogs, diba? And now with TikTok and these other social media platforms, it's so easy to be famous in like a week's time, a month's time. You have hundreds and millions of followers. So it's crazy, and brands are beginning to take it seriously as well, as
Mm-mm.
compared to before. Before, it's really just throwing a party, so all these bloggers will come and giving gifts.
Right.
You get it for
Mm.
free
Mm.
as much as possible. You don't want to pay.
PR kits and all, di ba?
And now in surprise, content creators are living the life, like millions of pesos being paid for them to do endorsements,
Wow.
hundreds and thousands of pesos to just one post. And even live streamers making millions of pesos each month just live streaming online. So that is very fascinating. Kaya I got more interested, but it was accidental. It wasn't planned. I did not want to like have a YouTube channel, to be a TikTok creator. I want to be a live streamer or whatnot. Wala talaga sa plan at all. It was just, I'm bored, might as well have fun while in lockdown. And then it so happened my friends are also creators, and I even have a group. Like we formed the group. And there's such a young a young group of people. We were called Hype Hive. There were 10 of us.
Mm.
Some of them are GMA artists, and then some of them are TikTok uprising stars. So it's very interesting how it all happened.
So for you, it was all organic because you were part of this whole like network of people who were influencers in the first place, and then you were dragged into the scene, and now you're a content creator. And you mentioned that you were friends as well with these startup folks, right? Are you friends with the founders of Kumo? Is that the reason why you joined up, the
Yes,
platform?
I've
Mm-hmm.
always been a big supporter of Philippine startups, including Kumu, of course. I've met Roland,
Mm.
Rexy, and the rest of the gang, James,
Mm.
way before they were. I think I've heard of them even before they were a live streaming app. I was on the app, I think 3 years ago, way before they have virtual gifts. I was already on the app because I have some friends that was supporting them. I was also an advertiser on Kumu. I've done partnerships with them. I've done it twice so far before becoming a live streamer. And anyone can become a live streamer, but I was also, before my current job, became a signed artist. That means I have an agency or a manager
Wow.
managing me. So I'm pretty stoked with that concept that I was able to do it. But yeah, so
And a lot of us want to do it all, 'di ba? Just to try it out, just to learn, just to have an experience of actually being a creator. And now you're here, and apparently it's ano pa, parang pandemic project mo, right? I actually this podcast is also a pandemic project, and it pushed us, a lot of us, to become creators, 'di ba? And it's also a good excuse actually to talk to other people. I mind you, I enjoy it. But
nice.
yeah, let's talk about your startup experience. Maybe we can go back to that because for the listeners, if you don't know Chris Star, for you anyway, I'm kidding. But Chris, I've seen you on Startup PH. I've seen you on these groups that are related to startups, and that's actually how I knew that you were around, no? And you were promoting as well your agency, and from there, you mentioned that you were involved as like parang first employee of all these startups. So like, wow, yung isang episode mo, they said that you were like a social butterfly, kumbaga. Well, who is Chris Star ba? Before you were doing all these things, digital marketing, startup marketing, content creation, who were you before that? I'm curious.
So I had my first business and Taste of Digital 17 years ago. So I was in college. You
Mm.
guys can do the math. Back then, I hired a company to launch a website for this bag company that I started. So my mom made the bag. I brought it to school. People are asking, where did you get it? And I'm like, moment. Okay, benta times. I'm gonna sell this since people are asking. Even the guards are stopping me, asking me where I got my bag. So that's when I decided to turn it into a business. And that was my first um, parang experience in entrepreneurship without any
Mm-mm.
knowledge. I was a college student. I was taking political science. No one's teaching me what I'm doing. I literally have zero knowledge. And back then, the sell of online is sell to the world. Right now, kasi it's all about niche, geolocation,
Yeah, agree.
diba? It's all about localization of your content. But back then, since digital is very new, 17 years ago, it's not even called
Quite,
online.
yeah.
It's web. It's web
Web
marketing,
marketing.
marketing, internet marketing.
Ew, right? It shows how
So
old we are, Chris.
I know. So back then, it was just really parang I because the reason why I pushed for the online store was when I found out how expensive it is for anyone to start selling in malls or anywhere, literally
Right.
offline. I realized I can't afford it, and obviously I was just using someone else's money, which is my parents. So I said, okay, I think 2,000 or 3,000 pesos a month. I think was the monthly payment for the website. I thought that was
Mm.
cheaper than a 20,000 to 100,000 peso rent in a mall. Plus, it's so complicated. I didn't know that you have to submit a proposal. They need to
For
approve
sure.
it. They
Mm.
need to see your concept. I didn't know all of those. I learned everything on the job, and
Mm-mm.
that's really where I started. But even before that, I've always been creating websites. I created a website for my section in high school.
Mm.
Created a website with a chat so that everyone can go to that page after work. So
That's
that's
cool.
where it all started.
And now you fell in love with digital marketing and startup marketing, now being a content creator. So, since we already talked about the content creator side of you, although I still have some more like inquiries about that, you mentioned being a business owner and comparing having a kiosk, for example, in a mall and doing online marketing. Oh, wag ng online marketing. Is that the recent term na ba, yung online marketing? Yes, it's
Digital na
online
nga eh.
marketing. Digital. Digital
Digital
marketing pala.
marketing na. Yeah.
Social na siya. Okay, so digital marketing. Focus tayo on the social part. What do you think are the benefits if the businesses would choose to use their budget into social media marketing versus, let's say, advertising in a newspaper and the radio? I know that's very basic for you, but do you think that's still applicable nowadays, or should we spread our budgets across different channels? What is your parang mental model for that?
I think number one, the barrier to entry is way, way lower for digital. So it's very
Right.
affordable. You don't need to have a huge budget, especially for other traditional media like billboard, TV. The cost for entry is very high. Like I think it's at least half a million pesos for placements on like billboards. Um, and
Expensive,
and
grabe.
and even for TVCs like 30 seconders typically would already range around that much depending on which station you're placing.
Mm-mm.
So and barrier to entry alone, digital is the way to go, especially for small businesses, right? Because that's what you can afford, unfortunately.
Mm-mm.
But the good news is when it comes to where our customers are spending most of their time, it has also greatly shifted,
Mm-mm.
especially right now because of the pandemic. Even the older generation are forced to become baby zoomers, as they're called.
Maybe that's cute. I just heard about that. Okay.
Because now that's the
Netizens before, 'di ba? They call it netizens. Ngayon pala baby
yeah,
zoomers.
baby
Okay.
zoomers are the baby boomers that would have to adapt on new technology like Zoom to connect with family. So now
True.
they're spending a lot of their time online and less
Mm-mm.
on traditional media. Also, the distribution of traditional media has been limited because
Mm-mm.
one, when do we usually listen to radio? When we're driving, but we're now stuck at home. When do we
Mm-mm.
usually watch TV? When we have nothing to do, right?
Mm.
But now because of digital, there's something you can do anytime with like Netflix on demand,
Right.
as compared to TV that you have to wait for your favorite show at a specific time. And now
Mm-mm.
that we're all working from home, we don't necessarily have to get information from newspapers or magazines.
True.
So our consumers, our audience, our target audience, our target market, they have changed their consumer behavior, and their
Right.
also the content they consume is now different. So for me, that's why you would want to choose digital. I would assume that if you are still thinking of traditional media, that you know that your market is still primarily using traditional media as a main source of content. But that's
Mm-mm.
very rare. The only
Mm-mm.
reason I would suggest more traditional media is if you are a bigger brand. Of course, if you're
True.
a
True.
national brand, there are still a lot of Filipinos. There's still a lot of people who are not always online, always active online,
Mm-mm.
and traditional media would still be your best option to reach them.
Especially for those no that say, okay, I don't want to be on Facebook anymore. I will deactivate it. But Facebook is the top social media here in the Philippines alone. So for
Mhm.
sure, investing on digital would be the way to go. But how is it different, Chris, in your experience with, comparing it to small businesses versus the startups? I know this is your favorite so far. What's the difference between doing social media marketing with B2B or like the small businesses versus the startups?
Okay. So first is small businesses versus startups. Typically, for small businesses, they're competing against other small businesses and
Right.
slightly bigger businesses than them,
Mm,
but also usually within a specific location. Could be,
mm,
just within Metro Manila. You have certain
right.
limitation when it comes to your serviceable area. So
Mm,
that alone is already a big difference, because a lot of startups, they're either tech enabled or they're technology led. So location is not too crucial. For
mm.
example, your startup right now, right? Content Dash.
Yay, Content Dash.
Anyone in the world could utilize this platform, so you don't need to be
Yes.
limited in just one location. So that alone is
Mm,
a world of difference, because in terms of marketing budget, in terms of marketing focus, that's going to be very different. Now when it comes to
mm,
B2B versus B2C, that's also a world of difference, since if
mm.
you're dealing with consumers, the sales cycle and the sales process or your customer journey is very different.
True, true.
Consumers typically, you can convince one person to buy a product immediately. It just takes a few seconds of their time to see an ad and be convinced and they want to buy it. This is why you
Mm.
can hear people talk about nabudol sila ng Lazada or TikTok made me
I
buy
love that
this,
word.
right? But for B2B, that's never going to happen, because typically there are layers of bureaucracy, and depending on the size of the,
Yeah. Mm.
when it comes to making decisions, it's not usually decided by just one person. Of course, if it's a smaller business where there's just literally one person in that business,
Oo.
typically they're freelancers or self-employed businesses, these are similar to consumers in terms of decision making. But if it's a little bit bigger, when there's at least two or three co-founders or managers, the decision process is very different. You have to go through a
Yes.
process. And typically, relationship building, in my opinion and my personal experience, has been the key to get deals or close businesses, like close business deals.
Mm.
It's usually relationship.
Which is quite far from those, let's say, businesses that prefer to use cash or their money, 'di ba? Or like ad spend in order to convert it into sales. Kasi when you try to talk to businesses, they make excuses. I don't know if you encountered this, but they would say something like, "Oh, I can't create content because I don't know how to use TikTok, or we don't know how to leverage these platforms, etc., etc." So, how do you try to convince them that it's actually doable? I mean, TikTok is free, right? And not the ads though, but the platform itself. So how do you what's your usual parang line to convince them to try out, just try it out, di ba? Yung parang sinasabi natin, just experiment and then figure out if the platform is for you. Do you do the same for businesses?
With my previous clients and friends consulting,
Mm-mm.
I've yet to meet someone who's apprehensive of trying
Mm.
it out. I
Mm.
think a lot of them realize the importance of it, but they don't
Right.
want to do it themselves. And that's why they use
Ah.
money to speed. They want to hire someone, they want this influencer to do it. They don't, and I think this phenomenon is also kind of new. In my
Mm.
opinion, it was really in the height of the pandemic that we started seeing the entrepreneurs themselves becoming creators, and the
Mm.
creators turning to entrepreneurship to sustain themselves as well. I think this is quite
Mm.
unique. Though of course there have been in entrepreneurs in the past, like Gary Vaynerchuk, for example, has been
Yep,
famous for
yep.
creating content. He's been there since forever and has been creating content since forever. But there were very few of them before. I think now you
Agree.
will see a lot of small businesses on TikTok talk about the process on how they built their businesses, their challenges, how they buy their supplies, how do they conceptualize, meeting the team, talking about their journey. We're seeing that now, and I think people are resonating well with these kind of creators.
I agree with you. I've seen business owners who they just talk about their business, they post on their Facebook, but then once they start creating these like skits on TikTok, it more sense, like what they're doing. They would show, okay, this is the product, this is how it works. And then when they show themselves actually using the products, I would say, okay, so that's what you're selling. Like, ngayon ko lang nalaman yung ganun. Like, it
Yeah.
makes it really clear. And I agree with you na parang these entrepreneurs trying out these platforms, there might be some, of course, transition period, or like they're trying to familiarize it, which actually makes it funny, diba? They're trying out different filters, songs, they're dancing and all that. Like, how hard was it for you to create content for TikTok, or was it as natural as your podcasting and the other content that you create?
Okay, one thing that I discovered, I guess when I was starting, I was very similar in
Mm-mm.
thinking that it's difficult, there has to be a
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
And typically started by copying others. What are others doing? So I
Mm.
do have videos where I was singing or lip syncing,
Dancing, meron ba?
dancing, using
I have to see
funny
this.
cute filters. I've hidden those videos on TikTok, but
Oh my
I haven't
God, no,
tried
too late.
those. I've definitely experienced that where I'm not too sure. But the great thing about
Mm.
social media, especially the new platforms, is that it's so new that no one really knows. Yes, there are certain people
True.
that are excelling, but it doesn't mean that that's the only format. Actually, most of the time, if you just copy someone else, you're never gonna fly because someone's gonna say that,
Mm.
"Oh, I've seen this before. Why would I
Mm.
follow you if you're doing the same exact thing as others are doing?" The
That's a
ones that
good
are
tip.
really becoming famous and um, with high engagement, I would say are the ones
Mm.
that are original, the ones that
Mm.
discover it on their own. And
Mm.
because I've interviewed a lot of content creators in my podcast, I've also, as I said earlier, I realized that most of them, they don't accidentally learn these things. They
Mm.
did study it. They watch others how they do it. They watch videos about other content creators. They spend a lot of time thinking about what content, when to post, what tools to use.
The
They
tactical level, no?
Yeah, a
Mm.
lot of people just see the outcome and it seems
Mm.
easy because it's just 5 seconds, 15 seconds.
Tama.
It
Mm.
feels easy. But those 15 seconds, those are usually the hardest to make because you have to concise everything in just 15 seconds. Um, Editing, timing, it's super difficult. And
Mm.
even till now, I don't consider myself like I've mastered it. I'm still learning a lot and I'm still learning from observing others, watching videos, interviewing people. So it's a process because it's super new. Nobody really can claim to be an expert. It's
Mm.
impossible for someone to be an expert because the platforms are also changing. So how would you
Mm.
tell me that you've perfected it? And the next day, like I think Instagram just recently announced they're introducing Instagram video, which is a combination of feed video plus IGTV. So
Mm.
it's super new.
They killed
So
those. Oh, for
yeah,
sure.
they're killing you. They're killing some of their features, right? Like IGTV, and then there's Reels, which
Oo.
publicly launched in the Philippines yet. So once it's launched
Mm.
here, like it's something new again. So no one can really say that you're an
Mm.
expert on it. And I think that's also why people should just jump on it, try it out, and learn it by themselves because it's very difficult to, I mean, the basics, the fundamentals, learning basic marketing, script writing, all of that is important. But
Mm.
to be super good at this, there's no other way but to do it yourself. You cannot read it from a textbook or anything because it's impossible. It's always changing.
True. Now, if let's say, for example, I'm a business owner. Now, I'm convinced that, yes, okay, let's try it out. Let's go to TikTok. Let's see what we can do. So now I have the app, I have an account, but I want to create it for my business, not for myself. Um, First question is like, what are the basic things that I should have? Should I have like a setup, like a room fully dedicated to TikTok videos? I'm not sure. What would you tell them?
The first thing you need to learn is creating a habit of creating content. Because
There we go. Habit.
yeah, because a lot of people they think they need to spend a lot of money with like
Mm.
buying the latest mic, camera,
Yan.
lighting, everything. And then they're tamad. Like they won't create content. So what's the point? I think
True.
creating content, people could not care more to your content if you have like high definition, if you don't create content regularly. So
Mm.
I think it's more important to get to that habit because it will be
Of
very,
consistency.
yeah, because
Mm-mm.
it's not easy to create content every day. The ideation, scripting, it takes a lot of time. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna create content now. It's not an IG story that you can just
Mm-mm.
randomly take pictures and then post it on TikTok, and hopefully it would bring customers to you, right? You have to plan it. So
Mm-mm.
I think you
Mm-mm.
need to spend time with yourself and just start creating content, and then focus on improving things as you observe that it's required. Like for example, oh, okay, I think this would make my content better if I have a better phone or a better camera or a
Mm.
mic. But don't focus on that yet until you already have that consistency in creating content.
Yes, guys, that's why we have Content Dash. It's a content planner. You have to look ahead kung ano yung lalabas na content mo, 'di ba? So like
Yes.
let's say next week, the next day. How often do you make content ba, Chris? For TikTok, for example, is it daily? Talaga bang
So
daily needed?
typically what's recommended, and this is also being done by businesses, and why you need
Mm,
platforms like Content Dash, is you need to plan it ahead. You're not
right.
really supposed to create content daily and then create content daily as well. Like you post
Mm,
daily, you create daily. It's usually batch creation, so you
batch great. Yes,
plan
that's good.
like a week before and then post. I honestly have
Right.
not been very active on posting on my socials. You might be
Mm.
expecting like, is Chris posting every day? Unfortunately not, because I've been very busy with work. But when I was still active, it's usually batch, like 3 videos at a time. I plan it out, I do my scripts, and then I create them, edit it, because editing alone takes a lot of time, especially if you're
Mm,
gonna
mm,
use TikTok itself. The TikTok app is good enough in editing, but it's
mm,
very difficult. So when I first
mm,
started, I thought that was my only option. So
mm,
it took some time to like create captions, put stickers,
mm,
and I
mm,
discovered other tools, and apparently it's so much easier there. So I now create through other tools and then upload it on TikTok. So my recommendation, just plan it ahead. And in terms of frequency, it really depends. A lot of people would recommend, if you're new, to create as much as 2 to 3 content on TikTok daily, so that you
mm.
learn. This
Ouch.
allows you to
That's
learn.
a lot of content.
Yeah, but then come think of it, it's only for new users on TikTok. I think they're limited to like 30 or 60 seconds. I'm not even sure now, because
Mm,
me,
mm.
because I'm a creator now on TikTok. I think now I have up to 10 minutes on.
Wow.
But I think for newbies, I have to check. I think it's 30 or 60 seconds. But that's just
Mm,
1 minute, right? Assuming it's half a minute to 1 minute. You don't need a full day. I think that's what makes TikTok also very recommendable to a lot of people compared to
mhm,
YouTube. Because with
mhm,
YouTube, it's really recommended to have long formats,
mm.
because it's more intentional. When you go to
Right,
YouTube,
yeah.
you have an intention to like watch something, like learn how to cook, or
Yes, yeah.
watch your favorite vlogger, right? Or learn
Mm,
something new. But on TikTok, it's really for people who's bored. So
mm.
they just need like a few seconds of their life to be drifted away. So they'll go to TikTok, waste their
Yeah,
time.
and then just scroll and scroll
Exactly.
infinitely.
Yeah. So your goal on TikTok is slightly different. You only have a few seconds. People would only give you maybe about 3 seconds before they would scroll. And if they've
Mm,
seen this before, they don't like your first clip, they're probably just gonna
mm,
skip. So these
mm,
are things that you need to learn. And the good thing about TikTok is that you don't need to have a huge following to have a lot of views. And doesn't mean that you have
mm,
a lot of following that you always automatically have a lot of views. It really depends on your content.
But what if I have content pero I don't have followers yet? Do I rely on hashtags or like something trending at the moment? Is that the way to go?
It can help. Definitely, adding a trending sound on your TikTok allows
Mm,
other people to see it. But The
Right.
trending sound has to be something that's just about to explode. Because
Mm-hmm.
if it's
Mm-hmm.
too popular, no one really will see it anymore. Kasi the
Mm.
discoverability there is when people click the sound or hashtag and then they see other related posts.
Related video,
And
yeah.
the new ones really get on the top. It's
Mm.
usually like the ones with the highest views. So if you
Mm-mm.
want to utilize hashtags and sounds or filters, you need to jump onto the trend or a challenge. You join the
Right.
challenge. Make sure to
Mm.
join early on so that
Ah.
when people are discovering, oh, there's a new dance craze, let me check it out. Then your videos
Mm.
will be on top. That's
Mm.
how you game the system. But at the end of the day, it still will depend on your content. That's why I
Mm-mm.
said kanina, don't invest on like equipment, don't invest on all these other things. You really need to invest on the content because at the end of the day, it's content that people are consuming, not your camera, not the dance moves, etc.
Mm-mm.
Like they need to enjoy the content. What's the purpose? Do you want to entertain, educate,
Mm-mm.
agitate? It really depends
Mm-mm.
to you what your purpose is. So
Mm-mm.
create content that delivers that intent, and on TikTok you'll find it easy to succeed.
For sure, for sure. Now, the last thing is like influencer marketing. Let's say I'm a business and Chris, I really don't have time for this. I just want to hire people or like an influencer to do that for me. Is that even possible? And how much do you think I should pay for it?
Yeah, what's so unique now is that as I talk about it recently, creatorship is uprising, which is the newer or the newest kind of small business. It's almost like a
Mm.
freelancer.
Creator economy, is that the same
Yeah,
thing?
it's
Yeah.
part of the creator economy.
Mm.
The big difference is before influencers, you just hire them to post. Now
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are not necessarily influencers with huge following, but they can create content. So they edit, they can script, they
Mm.
can act, they can do it themselves, they can ask other people to do it for you as well. Um, so definitely in terms of hiring someone to do content for you, that's very doable. In terms of cost, it would really depend so much on a lot of factors from how big is your brand, how big is their following, what kind of content are they producing. If there's an alignment as well in terms of what you're doing, versus what you're doing versus what they're aspiring to do as well. There could be, it also depends if they're very new and they're open. That it's actually something I haven't done yet in terms of hiring a creator to produce content for a brand,
Mm-mm.
specifically like on a regular basis, not on a campaign basis, but that's
Mm-mm.
actually on our pipeline. So instead of us sponsoring a show, or us doing the content ourselves, we're planning to
Exactly.
hire
Yeah.
this aspiring content creators who don't have much followings yet, but you can see they have the talent, they have the passion.
Right.
And that has been my recent advocacy next to like I've been a mentor for Kubo, I think for 5 years now. And it's because of my passion to help entrepreneurs, because my thinking is when you help entrepreneurs you help more people because they employ
Exactly.
people and etc. Now because of this, I'm actually creating a fund that all my earnings from content creation I'm putting there because I want to support creators because it's super
Creators as well.
difficult to
Mm.
become a content creator, especially when you're starting. You'll feel like, oh, no one's watching anyway, I shouldn't continue. And I've seen a lot of live streamers that like that. And when I started supporting them, I asked people to watch them, and now they're doing so well. They're making money, and sometimes it only takes one person to believe in you to keep going. And that's why I think there's a huge opportunity for brands to look for these kind of talent and hire them. And it's now happening. There are jobs in different companies, including big businesses like Shopee and Canva, that's hiring content creators. As in, your job is to create content for them for a specific. Usually, it's a content creator for TikTok, because one thing they realize is you cannot hire a social media manager and automatically assume that this person can do TikTok videos, because it's a very different talent altogether.
Agree.
So now it's actually a job. Apparently, some companies are already hiring content creators.
Similar to companies that are opening, that have openings for meme makers. I don't know if you've seen that, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And they also now have studios. I'm quite surprised. I can't remember which company. They have an actual studio for you to create content.
Right. Oh, this is very interesting. Interesting times. And I'm looking forward to your fund for creators. So maybe you work like an incubator or accelerator for the creator economy. That's probably going to be your next venture, Chris Star.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
The star maker. Why not? Yeah. So before I let you go, of course, this is Wicked Thoughts. So what's your final wicked thought that you can leave to our listeners?
I guess I'll relate it back to content creation and social media in general. I think it's such an exciting time, and being the social media capital of the world, and a lot of us are very, very talented, very smart, and we speak the language of the world. And it's not just English. A lot of us are speaking Spanish, French, and all that. I think this is the next BPO, like the next
Wow.
call center, right? Like this could be the center of content creation in the future. I mean, the Philippines, and it's just starting. From live streaming games to live selling to creating TikTok videos. I think it's something that people are not taking seriously yet, but the people I've spoken to that are creators now, they're making a lot of money. They're probably even making more money than some managers or people working in the BPO industry. So if that's something worth if money is motivation, definitely it's not lacking in this industry. And I just wonder if we can help more people to become that. And that's why I thought I'll probably create a fund. When I say I have created the fund, I've really set aside the money I earn from brand deals, from live streaming. And some of it I buy virtual gifts to support live streamers. And some of it I put it on an investment, and I plan to grow it because I think we need to push harder for more people to become creators, and not just so they become famous. I really think it will be a livelihood for a lot of people in the coming years.
There we go. Chris Star, everyone, and his wicked thoughts. So, Chris, you want to plug some of your initiatives right now, your podcast? What do you have for us?
Yes, thank you so much for again inviting me here. And if you guys are interested to learn more about the world of social media, how to become a content creator, how to hire one, I also have a podcast. After listening Wicked Thoughts, you might want to also check out Under the Influence. It's on all podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. And you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can also follow me on all social media. And also, I've just launched a course with Up Next, and we're on our first cohort, but I heard that there's so much demand to it that we might do a second one. And I'm really excited for that. So if you guys are interested with learning more about social media marketing, either as a career, you want to be a content creator, do check out Up Next, because we might actually create a special track just for people interested in content creation. So there, thank you so much again for guesting me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And Chris Star again, everyone. Thank you.
And that was the latest episode from Wicked Thoughts. This season is sponsored by The Company Co-working Space in Cebu and Content Dash, a simple and fast social media content planner. Sign up for a free account at www.contentdash.app. Tune in for more wicked conversations right here at Wicked Thoughts.